really into it, you'll make it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Eshen. Okay, so are there any online platforms that are beginner friendly for those who want to either transition into tech or those who are in tech already, but then they are confused? They don't understand anything that's going on. Are there any beginner friendly online platforms that they could access to help them start from somewhere?
There are a lot. Okay, there are a lot. I'm sure most of you will be saying, oh, there's Coursera, there's Udemy, there are a lot. But I believe that if we decide, you see, all these platforms were developed by people that are not in our context. If you get to know me well, I'm somebody who preaches contextualization. Why can't we develop it ourselves? Whilst people are using it, we better it. And then the money comes back to us. I think we are not looking at it. We are most of the time consumers. We are not interested in developing and making sure that it's being used. And then when we do it for ourselves, by ourselves, I'm sure we'd understand it better. And might even, I'm sure culture might even come in. But we can start from somewhere. We can look at what others are doing. And then we develop ours. That is the angle personally I'm going. I'm pushing, even if it's not like what others have. They started from somewhere. Let's stop being technology consumers. But, well, we can learn. It's all over. I'm sorry if I have to answer your question this way, but this is my stance. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Eshen. So back to Mr. Selassie. Are there any challenges that are faced by women in the STEM space, and how do you think they can be addressed?
Yes, there are a number of challenges. Just like I did mention earlier on. First is the individual challenges that the ladies face in actually venturing into tech. They feel it's hard, it's difficult, and they can't really do it just because they need. So for instance, the university that I work in, you need to have like a science background before you can even venture into it. Or even if you're not in the science background, you should have some form of like mathematics background before you can venture into it. And the data has shown that ladies actually struggle in the sciences and they always prefer the arts. So it's a challenge getting a lot of women actually venture into the tech. And those who even venture and do courses that are tech related, just do it for the grades and come up and graduate without any particular skills. So one thing that we can do is first, they just have to know that they can do it. And then it's not rocket science, or it's not something that can be done. A lot of ladies are into the tech space, just like you mentioned in the introduction. Ladies were at the forefront of technology when it all began. So that should give them something that they can also do it. And also, because it's male dominated, and just like I mentioned earlier, they feel they cannot compete with them. But it's not a competition. You are there to actually help in the process, actually bring solutions to problems that we are currently facing in the world. So it's not a competition, not competing with somebody. We are there to bring your ideas on board and actually create solutions for problems that we are currently facing. One way that we can actually solve all these issues is just like Madam Mott mentioned, it's through mentorship. And then those who are available and can help mentor the students, they can do it. sometimes when I'm teaching, I try to take on some students who are genuinely interested in tech, and we speak a lot about what they want to do, and I direct them, give them certain roadmap to follow. And I think, Tina, you can attest to the fact that I think some time ago I called you about a lady who wants to venture into data analytics. And I was asking if there are lady groups or study groups that you can add here to. So it was through my lecture and how I presented the course. That was when she realized that she can actually do it. So some part too is for those who are actually teaching or doing the lecturing, and those who are, let me see, presenting the course material to the teacher. If they teach it in a certain way and it's easy for the ladies to understand, they can actually have an interest and actually venture into it. And we should also have lady groups who are mainly into technology, so that the ladies can feel comfortable around their peers and actually learn things, share similar interests, learn new things in the same group. If they join a male group, so it can be a bit difficult. We all know what goes when men and the ladies meet in a certain group. It goes beyond the main purpose of a particular group. So we should have that kind of a community of ladies or women that can actually help the upcoming ones to actually venture. It's not a field that is hard. It's an easy field, but it's not simple. We need dedication, we need some kind of consistency, and you need to be always learning. You should have that zeal, you should be curious, because the field is always changing. You are using a particular library in programming, they bring in new one, you have to relearn, unlearn. So you have to be persistent, consistent, and you have to be very well interested, or you give up along the way. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Selassie. So now we open room for questions. If you have any questions for Mr. Sean or Mr. Selassie, you can type them in the comment section, or you can raise your hands. You get called upon, you unmute your mic, and then you throw in your questions. So are there any questions, please? Okay, so whilst you think of the questions to ask our speakers, we would like to have some recent graduates and even one who is still in school come share their stories on how they entered. Okay, so I see a hand up. Mr. Samoa, please kindly unmute your mic and ask your question, please.
Yeah, so can you hear me, please?
Yeah, we can hear
you. Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, so listening to the panelists speak, you could tell that the focus was more on students in school. So permit me, I may not be able to mention your name, but the madam in there spoke about she being a lecturer and a student. And the other gentleman also spoke about he being in the school, and the school he is the student. My question here is, what about those who are not in school? What about those who have completed university? What about those who have also completed SHS and are not in any university yet? How does the question apply to them? So that's my question, because I don't think it's all about people in school. You can tell that many people are also done with school and have the same similar challenges. So please, if we can address this, I'll be glad. Thank you.
Okay, so over to you, Mrs. John. So we are asking, is it only for those in school? What about those in the rural areas, those outside of school? How do we address that situation?
Okay, thank you very much. I think what we are sort of discussing has to do with learning. And maybe because we sort of talked about education, the field that we are speaking about is not a field where you just get up and get a skill. You must learn. You must practice over and over again. And I think that's what we have been reiterating, that it's a field where you learn and unlearn because things change within the shortest possible time. When you look at the technological changes within 10 years, assuming from 2013 to 2023, just a 10-year span, you see the different kind of technological changes. So because we are saying that the way this field progresses, you cannot be in tech and decide not to study. So that is where the education part comes in. And then when we are talking about studying, the tech industry is such that you need to practice. If you are into programming, you need to practice. It's a daily thing. And whilst practicing, you learn the skill. If you are into the data sciences, you need to, we are talking about a lot of data. I remember once I did a research using Twitter data. Listen, that is data, a lot of it. And learning how to, screen those data, something to do with learning, relearning, up learning, down learning, and all kinds of learning at all times. So the whole point is this: we must be ready that if we want to stay in this industry, we avail ourselves for further education, further personal studies, and a lot of these programming languages that come up. When I was in school, we had COBOL, we had other programming languages. But now I do Python. I didn't go back to any classroom. I went online to study, practice it, put in data, use it for analysis. So you realize that it's not about somebody teaching you in the classroom. It's about you making time to know it, work with it, and practice with it. So that is all we have been saying, sir. I hope I've been able to answer your question.
Well, not entirely. If I become not entirely, I you and I understand from where you're coming from, but you see, on one side, from where you're coming from, you got to learn, and we're sometimes fortunate to have the gadgets or the internet that we need. You made mention that in Ghana, internet is cheaper. But mind you, not everybody can afford internet. So Madam spoke about the rural areas. What about people who can't afford internet, smartphones? That's the first. What about people who can't afford smartphones? What about, as you know, those infrastructures? What about those areas that don't even have internet labs or computer labs? You can get me. And people may be willing. You spoke about motivation, you're right there. But how do we send this to those areas, bridging the gap between the urban and the rural? That's where the focus is. When we're talking about ISOC, I'm looking at this on the higher level. You're talking more educational and technical. That's fine. I appreciate your input. But what about the higher level? How do we bridge the gap between the rural and the urban? You see, when it comes to internet, how do we make internet affordable? You see, in the rural areas. In the urban, we can get ourselves around. But in the rural, what do we do? So that is where the focus is now. I think when we are able to really grasp this, then it will help. As part of the motivation, as you clearly stated, I think we need to also think about how to motivate people, because somebody's in the urban does not know anything about computer. How do you even mention IT if the person does not know anything called computer? How do you mention IT and programming when the person does not know anything about smartphones? How do you mention Python and all those things, codes, when the person has even no idea about computer mouse, computer keyboard, basic input and output devices of a computer? So I think that before we even go into the internet is housed by something, a hardware that we call computers. So that's my input as well. So if we can look at this, bridging the gap again between the urban and the rural areas, I think it could help us greatly. Then your mentorship and your education comes in, because without affordable internet service, without the systems in place to practice IT, how do we get educated in IT? So I think this is my little addition to what you've brought in. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so I want to add a little more. So I think it all comes down to the policymakers to actually be who have like the will to actually implement policies that will include the rural areas. So, for instance, as I know, I'm not sure the government is having any like telecommunication infrastructure. It's mostly done by the telecommunication companies. I happen to study a bit in China, and you can see that the government itself has invested heavily in telecommunication infrastructure. So that means if someone is coming on board, part of the cost is taken care of by the government. That means already when you are coming as a business, your cost of production actually reduces, and then the cost or the prices that you give to your products actually reduces for the customer. But in Ghana, it's not like that. MTN is doing everything infrastructure-wise, putting up masts in villages, making sure their network goes there. They are not having any kind of government intervention or policies. Also, we can also talk about restructuring our academic curriculum. And I think I've heard the Minister of Education making mention of like moving towards STEM. And moving towards STEM means investing in a lot of IT equipment, infrastructure, the human resource that will actually take up that cost. So I think it also comes down to the policymakers and the government who must have the will and the zeal to actually implement these systems.
Okay. To the leaders here, I beg your pardon, to the leaders here, we're making very important discussions here. Can our voice be heard in the very great input we're making here? Because so that it does not just become like we just made additions, it only stays here, or it only stays on Facebook and only for the hearers on Facebook. But can we also document something? Can we put together this important input, and can our voice be heard by, because we are ISOC, I beg to say, we are ISOC, and are we connected to any policy maker? Are we connected to anybody who could hear our voice and input this? Our madam, I beg to, what's your name? Madam Maud Ajeli.
Maud.
You rightly mentioned about some countries trying to put up some budgets or prioritizing IT or prioritizing cybersecurity, anything concerning tech. And that is true. You made I can give an example. Rwanda budget, when you're reading their national budget, they dedicate a certain good amount of percentage of their national budget to ICT and also cybersecurity. That's just an example. I mentioned Rwanda because Rwanda is an African country that we can clearly relate to, not to mention Europe that is far away. So you're very right with that. And my brother also talking about the policymakers. That is fine. But how is our voice heard? How would our voice be heard? How would ISOC be heard by these policymakers? Maybe the people just do whatever they do to gain their profit. Maybe, I'm just saying, I beg to say again. But how are the girls or our ladies considered? How are people in the urban areas who are not educated considered? How are the people in the rural areas who are also considered? And how do we also bridge the gap between the old and also the young? Let us not forget about that. When we talk about females, sometimes we only talk about just girls, I beg to say. But there may be some women that also may be interested, very mature, that also may be interested in this IT stuff, but they feel like, well, I'm too old. Where do we also come in to make them understand that when it comes to tech, there's nothing like age? So where do we also bridge, apart from bridging the urban and the rural gap, where do we also bridge the age gap? That tech has nothing to do with you are old and you are young. It again goes to the policymakers in a way. There's a place for the mentors. There's a place for Madam Maud, the educational person, and the same time technical person to mentor people in the academia area, and the same as my brother. And then there's also the place for the policymakers. Again, how are our voices heard, or how would our voices be heard for this, our input to get to these people? And how do we also insist that these things we talk about are not just discussions, but are actions, action plans or actions that we insist that they come to fruitfulness, that we can say that as ISOC, yes, we made our discussions, but this is the productivity it brought. So please, that is another comment. I beg to say.
Okay, so noted.
Very interesting inputs we're getting here. Thank you very much, Mr. Andrew. So, okay, I see Quara Victoria. Please, you can unmute your mic and put in your question. Hello, Victoria. Okay.
Hello, good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon, Victoria. So you can flow in your questions.
Okay. Please, Mr. Salasi mentioned something about the jobs that you can get after you are done with your IT classes in university. I'm a pharmacy student in university, and should I say my mom owns a laboratory center here in Wa. I would really love to know how I can use the IT to boost her business in the way that maybe she can give me advice as to how I can use web designs and other things to boost businesses here in the lab, even as a pharmacy student. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your question. Yeah, this is an interesting field. And then, so she is having a shop, pharmacy. So if you don't have, for instance, a POS system where people, when they purchase item, they are able to scan the item, pay using credit card or even mobile money. The system can track inventory. They give you automatic alerts when you are running low on certain inventories. That is also one part. And also, as a pharmacist yourself, there are careers, or for instance, in machine learning or deep learning, where pharmaceutical data or medical data, you can actually study it, get valuable insight from it. As for my master's program, I did something in medical imaging where I did something on segmentation using CT scan. So I don't have a medical background, but I was able to use machine learning, deep learning to actually analyze that particular data and come up with insightful results. So yes, you can combine your tech and your field that you are in now, then ICT to actually improve yourself. You can have a website, an e-commerce website to sell your medicine, where you can integrate payment system. People pay through mobile money. They make payments, you receive the order, you ship the order using Okada or any other delivery service that is currently available. So yes, you can leverage a lot of IT system to actually improve your mom's business and also the field that you are in now. There are lots of tech areas that are focused in the medical or the pharmaceutical area that you can be. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Lassie. And thank you, Victoria. So there's also a question in the comments that is it possible for a lady already in the field of science, for example, pharmacy, to venture into the IT space? Also, someone wanted to find out if someone doing sociology, linguistics, and beauty therapy can combine both the IT and what they are doing. So in short, can you combine whatever you are doing outside IT with IT? And is it possible for a lady already in the field of science to venture into the tech space? Please, who would like to answer this question for us? Madam Maud.
Okay, so I think we need to understand what the tech space is about. It's bigger than the technical aspect that we are all seeing. Now you realize that when we go to hospitals, most of the time, when you go to the modern hospitals, you have computers in front of the doctors. They must know how to type. They're expecting the nurses to know how to type so that they can send whatever it is to the lab, the pharmacy, to the account office. Are you getting it? So this is all technology. But even with that, we still need the human face of it. So you need to understand what the tech is doing and then what your profession is also about. Recently, I've been intrigued about how surgeries are going to be done using robots. But the funny thing is that these surgeries are going to be done by human beings with their knowledge and then using the machines to do it. So that tells you that when we are talking about tech, let's not all be afraid about the technical aspect of it. We are combining professions with technology. Technology is just a platform that is making whatever we are doing more efficient, faster, and then better. It's a tool that we are using. So if we get to understand that tool, that's going to help us make life easier for us. Then we are in the space. Now businesses are using e-commerce. That is tech. Okay, we are using that for we are ordering for food online. A human being is bringing it, but we use technology to order for it, and then we use technology to pay for it. The moment we are using is technology. So I want us to, be at peace with ourselves that, listen, we are all using technology, and we are using technology in whatever field that we are, whether you are doing sociology and all that, you're going to use tech to manage. For you to even sit behind your computer to type, to organize your work, to analyze things is all tech. So let's be at peace with each other in that aspect. So let's not be afraid, and making sure that we are using technology to make our field of study easier, our profession, our field of interest, okay. So we are selling better now, we are sending, communication is better now because you are using WhatsApp and all those. So that is tech. So I just wanted to, lay that emphasis to let us be okay, that all of us are IT in quotes people. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Session. So in our next session, for our next speakers, now they are recent graduates from the STEM space and currently working in the STEM space. We would love to hear their journey, how they got into school, how they got out, how the experience was getting out, and what they are doing in their current field. Would they like to switch from where they are? Because there's been much of that topic too, where we all come out from either computer science and probably accounting or maybe telecom engineering or something, and then we want to now come back into programming. So our first speaker session would be Miss Alice Donko. She's going to share her story and perspectives about school and the transition into the industry, the challenges she has faced, and the success to motivate every one of us here, including the students. So, Miss Alice Donko, you can unmute your mic if you're ready.
So, hello everyone.
Hi.
Hi.
Okay, so like Ernestina mentioned, my name is Alice Donko, and I'm glad to be sharing my tech journey with you all today. So I ended up studying computer science because it fell right down my alley and was congruent and was in congruence with what I studied in high school. So in high school, I studied ICT, science with ICT as one of my electives. So I was studying elective ICT in place of biology. And so it was convenient for me to continue on that path. But initially, in basic school, I detested ICT, if I'm being very honest, because it felt a little too abstract and and it was not easy to understand. But then as I grew a love for it as a teenager when I began to explore computers and the internet for myself, and other than what was just being discussed in the classroom. Then I entered into KNUST for my undergraduate studies in computer science, and the program blew me away. Even though I was fortunate to have prior knowledge to ICT and computer science, I was still met with some few surprises. We were studying a lot of maths, so much maths, be some beyond my comprehension, discrete maths, pure maths, a little bit of statistics, economics, basic electronics, algebra, etc. I'm sure those of us on the call can relate, who are students can relate. And these courses were so demanding that I could not afford to not even study, because you are in school for a reason. You are in school to study, you're in school to do well. And so I had to put in all my efforts and make sure that I'm doing this right. I knew I was in a comfortable lead, but being in a comfortable lead and having prior knowledge and finding a topic interesting is not enough to make you excel. So I had to put in all the hours to study. And it wasn't in school, it wasn't just about studying and learning for me. I would go for symposiums. I love to go for those a lot because I would meet new people, industry leads, get to know of job opportunities and offers, and just to meet and interact with new people, get to know what people are doing, what people are thinking, what is out there, what I should prepare myself for. And that was actually what led me to my current job right now. So in school, when I was still a student, my CEO and a team of consultants came to campus one day to have a session with the computer science students. And that was how I got to know about the company and what they did. And one thing led to the other, and here I am today. So being a lady in a program, having to level up and take a seat at that table at a young age can be a little overwhelming. And in my class, for instance, we were about 100 in total, but only about 20 of us were females. So you can imagine, but I didn't let that take advantage of my environment, and I was always looking out for the very smart guys in class to offer me extra tuition when I needed clarity on one thing or the other. And I will end up even dragging some of my very smart friends out of their hostels during weekends, in the evenings, early in the mornings, to the library for them to throw more light on something that was taught in class that I didn't really grasp or fully understand. I was trying to make the most of what I had been given in my environment. And I would also assist others too in one way or the other that I could. And for me, one thing that was very, very helpful in school was my study group. I kept a study group from first year to final year, and it was very helpful for me. They encouraged me to study on days when, the laziness was creeping in and was not motivated to study and all of that. Sometimes you need a power circle to urge you on, to encourage you, to show you, to hold your hand and take you along that journey where you want to see yourself be one day. And also for my TAs too, I was very close with my TAs in school. I had almost all the numbers of my TAs from first year because I always needed past things. I always wanted to have clarity on assignments and courseworks and their deadlines as well. And that was what it was for me in school. I was just determined to do my best. And for me, my options were to excel or to excel. No gray area. That was all I knew. I knew that I had to do my best in school with what I was given. And also in my time, it was not always easy to get internships. I don't know how it's like right now in the universities, but for me, during my time, you normally have to opt for an official letter from your department office, which would sometimes take a while to process. And then some of these companies too turning you down because they are not willing to take in interns at a particular time in the year. It was a little frustrating sometimes, but I was fortunate enough to do 2 internships during my school years. And I also worked on a few projects which gave me some hands-on skills and exposures on what to look out for in the field after school. Now, fast forward to life after school, it's been an interesting roller coaster so far. I call it roller coaster because it comes with its high and low moments. And like most young people, I always dreaded life after school. I would always think, so what was I going to do? What would I find myself doing? And for us young people, we love to envision the best and brightest for our futures. And so I was hoping to land in a tech or ICT company, which I eventually did by God's grace. I landed 2 actually, and I had to choose one. And I decided to go with my company, Certified Ghana. I had the opportunity to do my national service with them. And it was such a great learning experience for me because I learned so much. I gained so much rich experience and skills, which grew me into my current role right now. And I can say I'm one of those lucky ones to still continue in the IT field and not to I did not deviate. And although I entered into the tech field quite familiar because I had gained some education and know-how, you, you end up discovering new things on the job each and every day. You realize that there are some things you don't know, there's some things you have to learn. I mean, it's a constant learning process each and every single day. And with my current role as a service management consultant, I leverage IT service management consultancy and methodology to train organizations on more productively meeting their business objectives and delivering solutions such as service optimization, service integration, ITIL process implementation, etc. And my job, like every other one, comes with its high and low moments, like I said. But I can say for sure that each and every day I'm growing, I'm learning, and I'm evolving. And so, from all my personal experiences, in conclusion, I'd love to say that, especially to the younger generation coming up, your education and your career choices are some of the most important decisions you make in life. And so you have to take your time to explore your options and your interests. You have to to be focused on learning, and learning not just what you're taught in your classrooms, but rather than just chasing your grades and certifications, focus on learning and gaining knowledge for yourself as an individual. And this is going to set you up for long-term success. And also building your network with professionals in your field. Find like-minded individuals to learn and grow with. Identify people who have succeeded in areas of your interest and roll up with them, hang around them. This can help you to learn about the industry and may lead to job opportunities down the line, like it did for me. And also, persistence is so very important in pursuing your goals as a young individual. For most young people like us, when we encounter setbacks or failures, we tend to back down on our goals. We tend to not want to pursue our goals anymore. But I mean, one or two or a few failed attempts shouldn't stop you or deter you from pursuing that thing, your passions, what you really want to do as an individual. You're actually supposed to make some mistakes to gain certain experiences. And so those failed attempts should rather encourage you to want to get it right and do it right. And we have to remember that at this time in our young years, our budding stages of life, it's a very fleeting moment. And so you do not want to feel remorseful when it all ends. You would want to sit down one day and tell yourself that I really utilized my time and my years. I really did something worthwhile with my education, my mind, how I perceive things, your energy, your time. You would want to sit back one day and tell yourself that I did great. You wouldn't want to be remorseful about it. And so I would urge the younger people on the call to make the most out of every moment and opportunity. And I wish them success in all of their endeavors. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Miss Alice. Thank you very much. That was a wonderful piece of advice you gave there. So next will be Ms. Rolina. Kindly come in for us and make it brief so we can grasp everything we have into the world.
Hello.
Hi.
Good afternoon.
Welcome.
Thank
You
you.
have the floor. Good afternoon.
Thank you. So my name is Rodelyn, and with me, I actually didn't, I had an interest in computer science, but that wasn't what I wanted to do when I was going to the university. I actually wanted to be an architect though. So when I was going to school, it was my auntie who actually took me to school. So she chose most of my courses for me. But then when it came out that I had computer science, and I was like, I need to do this if I want to, go up. So I took the challenge and I joined the class. And it wasn't easy at first though, because as my sister said, most of the courses were maths, and I was a bit good in maths, but it wasn't that good as a computer science student. So I suffered a lot when it came to my maths. So I actually made friends who were good in the maths aspect to help me during that time. And then my expectations on campus was not really meant at first, because it wasn't the computer science was difficult for me at first, because that wasn't what I wanted. So it was difficult. But later on, I started liking it because I wanted to do it, and I had to motivate myself to do it as well. And in my class, when I was in ATU, we were 60 plus in my class, but the ladies were like 8, and even most of them even dropped off as time went on because they couldn't sustain the pressure of the computer science, so they dropped off. Even some of the guys couldn't even stay, so they had to drop off to venture into the arts departments of the school. And how difficult my internship was. When it came to internship, I actually didn't do mine in a company. The company actually came to the school to teach us. So we will go to school Monday to Fridays. For the company, those that has been assigned to teach us to come to the school to teach us. Most of the time we're doing database. So they came to teach us about database management. And it was okay because it was difficult, but it was okay. I don't know how to put it, but it was quite exciting to learn something that was not part of my courses in school, which I actually liked. And then with national service, I didn't do my national service in an IT firm, though. I did it with AME, Accra Metropolitan Assembly. And I didn't even also do it in an IT department, which was a loss to me, I would say, because during national service, I didn't have the chance to venture into the IT aspect of it, even though I did computer science. So I didn't have the know-how of being an IT personnel, even though I did computer science. And it became a bit of a problem for me because I actually wanted to have a hands-on job with the IT department, but I didn't get that. And I would say it was good, but it wasn't good for me, for my expectations as a national service personnel. And I'll also say that it was unfortunate for me because I actually had to go to Huawei, but I declined, which was a loss to me. And I felt sad about it. So, and most of my classmates also that I went to school with, most of them ventured off IT. I would say we're like only 2 or so that actually stayed in the IT department. And with the current school I'm in now, we are almost 30 something students, almost like 35, but we have only 4 ladies in the class, which makes it difficult balancing both the ladies and then the guys in the class. So most of the time when lecturers come to class and they are teaching, they always want to focus on the ladies because the guys most likely like the guys already had background in it, even though the ladies also do, but then they always want to give like a special attention to the ladies, for the ladies to also catch up with the guys in the class. And also with my current job, I actually, when I completed my national service, I was looking for a job. I was not getting a job. So a friend of mine who was already in the IT industry introduced me to it. So they were looking for someone to replace someone who resigned. So I applied. And luckily for me, even though I had no idea, I had nothing, no experience in that particular field, I actually had to learn, go online, search, learn, and apply. And then when I did, and then I got interviewed, I actually was the best person. I didn't have any background in it, nothing. But at the end of the day, I got the job, which I felt so happy about it. And I was able to work with someone like Tina before I mean, she left to another place. So I was very, very, very happy to have gotten the job. Then my advice to the young ones coming is that they should be persistent. I was persistent to, I mean, when I got into school, I was persistent. It was difficult, but I motivated myself that I have gotten this, I have this opportunity to do something good for myself, to do something that most ladies will not venture into. So I have to encourage myself and do that. And also, we should prepare to put our all in whatever we do at work. Because of how hardworking I am and stuff like that, most of my bosses are now trying to push me into other aspects of the work environment because they think I can do it. And at my workplace, there are not a lot of ladies there who are, I mean, availing themselves to do most stuff. So I was very, very happy when I got the opportunity to be a assistant shift manager at my workplace. So I will say that persistency, consistency should always be your number one thing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Na. And thank you very much, Ms. Donko. That's been very insightful. So we'll take our closing remarks from Mr. Fifi Mensah Selby. But before that, I'll leave you with my tips. If you didn't take anything at all from today's webinar, I'll give you my tips so you can put in your pockets, go into the world and make use of it. So tech has no age, and we have to work towards bridging the gap between the rural and the urban space. Also, we need to be very intentional about our studies. If you're a student, if you're already in the system, you need to be very intentional about moving on or going to higher heights. You need to be persistent, and you need to be close to people who can help you learn, who are resourceful. So without further ado, I would invite Mr. Fifi Mensah to give us the closing remarks.
Can you hear me? I think I can hear myself very loud and clear. Thank you everyone for joining this section. And firstly, before giving out the closing remarks, I'm going to show you a little bit about Internet Society, what we do and how you can join and contribute. Internet Society is a non-profit organization, and we have the various chapters in Ghana. When you come to Internet Society Ghana, we are also under the Global Internet Society area, where we normally advocate for internet for everyone. So we have done projects, we partner, get fundings for trainings, we have people that they are at the leading actions, we sometimes do awards to HANA people who are in the internet space, and you can get involved. You can search our website, isoc.gh. And we are also under the Global Internet Society, whereby what we normally work on is that we have this is the main Internet Society. So we have various chapters. We are also another multi-stakeholder group within the internet ecosystem, whereby we normally partner for projects. We are all having a common goal that the internet must be safe, the internet must be for everyone. We have trainings too as well, and we have programs. We have a program that if you are now starting a career in internet related to telecom technologies, digital skills courses are there you can do. We also have a program that they fund every year. People travel. I'm part of it. The Internet Society Youth Ambassador Program. We have the mid-career program, early career program, and other programs that they do. And you don't pay anything within Internet Society. It's a membership organization that you can join to also boost your career. You also join all these things to also leverage your skills and knowledge. You network with people. You post opportunities there. And through Internet Society, currently I have about 35 mentors that I am mentoring. Most of them are here. I share opportunities with them. They apply. They also get in. Most of them too have been also selected this year globally to travel for free for other network and other workshop opportunities. You can reach out to us. We also have committees that people are serving. And this whole program for ICT girls was organized by the Gender and Youth Committee, which Ernestina is the chair for that. I am the head of programs and communications committee, and we are always welcoming people to join the Ghana chapter. If you need any other things, you can reach us to search us on Internet Society Ghana chapter on internet and the Google and social media. You find that you reach out to anyone, we'll be able to help you. And we also appreciate our speakers and everyone, our people who, colleagues who have been able to share their experiences and other programs. We are also at ISOC, we are also trying as much as possible to bring this gap. So we are contributing effortlessly with other peoples and partner people for training. We've done training with the NetHoop. They came all from US and Greece for other projects in Ghana that we train people for free. And we still want to do all this training for people. We still want to do all this training for graduate people. And you have various chapter reps in the various regions. So you can check Central Region, you get people there, you join our committee, and we will be also moving from school to schools and also areas to areas, whereby we will all advocate for one. So I thank you all for joining this section, and I wish you a fruitful evening and time. Just do enjoy your day. Thank you and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, technical team. Thank you, audience. Thank you, speakers. Thank you, everyone. And we hope to see you again next year. Bye.
All right, bye. Thank you.
I do it for my government.
Do it.
I do it for my teenage.
Let's do it.
Me do it for the children.
Do it.
Me do it for my children.
Just do it.
So why can't you
So why can't you do it for the people?
do?
Have a wonderful day.
If you all can give it hand, we all can do so much. Yo, mama, to create much greener world. To create much greener world.
Children of the future.
Children of the future.
Children of the future.
Save it for my children.
Children of the future.
Give it hand. Save the children of the world. You can fly to the moon.
Fly away.
You can fly to the skies. Oh,
Fly away.
in the end, when you come down, things are still the same. The same people,
Same people.
the same faces,
Same
the
faces.
same map, oh, the same planet.
Same planet.
So why can't you make this place the only place for mankind?
Let's save this world.
Live as all the world.
Save this world. Children of the future.
Are you, mama?
Children of the future.
Give it hand.
Children of the future.
People of this world,
Children of the future.
give it hand.
Children of the future.
Sell this world.
Children of the future.
Children of the future.
All right, so Ernestina and Auntie More, the speakers, we thank you for your successful section today. And we look forward for more exciting from the gender and the youth committee. Thank you very much. And we'll be ending the section.
Children of the future.
Children. run, but you can hide. Stop destroying this earth.